Well, first of all, if you believe in God,
Amen.
first God say, don't have no idols. No false idols. And when he said that, when you look at those people that you think are somebody, or they all that, they just regular people with a little bit more money. Me and Puff used to get into arguments. You broke ass cop. I say, broke ass cop. I said, you got a ring, I got a ring. You got a watch, I got a watch. You got a chain, I got a chain. You got a car, I got a car. You got a house. You ain't got none that I don't have, brother. You understand? It might be different values, but you don't have nothing I don't have. I ask the kids, love the things that you have, not that you want. When you look at things and you start idolizing things that you want, you put it in a perspective that will get you in trouble. You understand? When you want those fancy cars or you want the jewelry, there's nobody in the streets that got something or has something that I didn't have. And I went to work for it every day. And I never had to look over my shoulder or worry if the cops was gonna knock at my door.
Last thing I have to ask, knowing, of course, what took place, with Kim Porter, what she went through. When the indictment came, when the lawsuit came down on Diddy and all the 30 pages, everyone's reading this at one time, and a lot of people aren't believing this before the video came out. When all this, everything that Cassie's saying, and then the lawsuit falls out, did you believe not saying everything in the document, but what was your take on the lawsuit for what it was? From what you heard, what Cassie went through, what was your take on, all right, well, he's about to pay that in a day? Because that's what happened.
I believe the girl Gina before Cassie even came out. You understand? I believe what she said and what he did to her, because I've heard the story about what he did to Misa, his first baby mom. You understand? When he beat her up on the car because she thought she was dealing with Eric Sermon.
Yeah.
You understand? I know the situation when I came into the hospital and Kim was looking distraught, bruised. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Kim was looking like she was looking. You understand?
Yeah.
And he holding a bloody t-shirt around his wrist because she cut his wrist. So I know what she may have went through in order to get to that point.
Damn.
So when Cassie was talking about the abuse and the parts that I read, I believed her. Because the lepers don't change their spots.
There you go. So last, Gina, I have to ask you, we're in 2024. You see what's going on with Trump. You see what's going on with Diddy. For you, again, you're in the industry, or you're in this world now. How does this all land? Because again, we've had Jaguar Wright come on this couch. She spoke and just basically gave her truth. Shout out to Art of Dialogue. You've spoken enough on there to give your truth. And it seems that things that y'all have said are coming to light, coming to fruition. How far does this go? As far as we just seen the Dream lawsuit come down. It's like Cuba Gooding Jr. We see all these actors that we praise, like you said, false idols, that are now, the wool is being pulled over our eyes, and we're showing if they are monstrous, we're seeing that. How far does this go that you feel going into the rest of this year, going into next year? Like what's gonna roll down from what Gene Deal feels?
Well, if I could answer that, I could probably put it in the bottle, make some money, bro.
Yeah, nigga dollars.
You know, but justice delayed is not justice denied.
Yeah.
You understand? And the things that is about to come out is because people are not going to be afraid to tell the truth. They know that there's ears out there listening now about what's been going down. This has been happening for years, brother.
Right.
You understand? when I told people that I seen Trump, Diddy, Al Sharpton, and Wendy Williams in the same room having a conversation together before he came president, and not all of them trying to say Trump was racist and all this and stuff like that. He wasn't acting racist. He wasn't acting all like that when y'all was chilling, drinking champagne and talking all this other stuff like that. Well, all of a sudden now he's racist and all that. I'm right there in the meeting with them. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, bruh, if people continue to come out, tell their truth, tell their tragedies, their things that happen to them, it's gonna be crazy. It's not only the entertainers, it's the athletes, it's the people in the movies. It's, bro, Hollywood is really Hollyweird.
That's real. That's real. And Gene, for those that do want to read your books, because what we want to do, of course, when we do this again, we definitely want to be read up on the books.
Right.
Tell them the names of the books, where they can get them, the stories that those are telling as well.
Well, you can get both of my books off of Amazon. It's My World of Bodyguard and a Hip Hop Star by Gene Deal. That's Genedeal. And the other one is Life After Death when Bodyguard and a Hip Hop Star. I got a tribute in there to the Bee Gees. I got a tribute in there to the Notorious Big. If you go read the comments of what people say, I didn't know I outdid myself from the first book, but they said the second book is better than the first book. The first book gonna have you in tears, and the second book, you're gonna be in tears first, but then it's an upbeat, it's what the industry, what I've seen. You know, conversation with Big L, Pun, you got stories about Fat Joe, you got some stuff about BMF, you got 50 Cent, the whole beef about 50 Cent and Ja Rule and the whole 9 yards. You understand? It's stuff that y'all should have been asking about now.
Yeah, right. That's why I was saying this ain't, we're gonna do more. We're gonna do more. We're gonna get to the book. So with that being said, is there any other books that you're writing? I'm
doing the last of that.
You know, it's like, nigga, you know me, I told Big I met Pop. Like, I would avoid Big's calls sometime to that producer's house that I was working with, just on my little bullshit, you know. We did dumb shit. But then this time, I took it. I was happy to tell him, because I knew, like, Big did not want to believe that. I didn't know Pop, but I knew what he said about him, how he felt about him.
Right.
And so when he even had an inkling of, like, at that time, it wasn't confirmed, like, he really feel like that, but it was little shit. It wasn't no social, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't know if it was even so much direction.
Point blank. We didn't look for guys outside our crew.
So when you were at these parties and, you know, making sure things were going certain situations, were there any younger cats that we might recognize today that would ever try to, like, act like they were better than, or try to force their way or push their way past y'all?
That came in the later days, man. You know, that came when dudes would have like 20 or 30 guys with them because they were scared. You understand? But you got to realize, when you have certain people that was out there with me, you had Slick, Tima. These guys are known in the street. Yeah. You know, they the godfather of some of the biggest gangsters that you heard of. Alpo, Lou Sims. You understand? They respected them. Yeah. So now, when I got them working and they part of the team and they running the security like that, ain't nobody gonna try nothing, bro.
So, man, let's get right to it then. To be what you were doing in your team, y'all had to have seen some evil shit, like some pretty fucked up shit coming from niggas with money, I'm assuming.
Well, you see that from niggas who don't have money also.
Right.
Ain't a whore. Like what?
Oh, Lord.
Like, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, married her because she was one.
Music and wanted to do a song with me, I'm thinking, yeah, right. Big, he ain't say don't do it. He's like, you gonna do it? I was like, yeah. I gave him Mark's number, told him how much it's gonna be.
And we say Mark Pitts.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
he was Big's manager. So
Okay.
after a certain point, I let him be my manager because
Okay.
I didn't have a manager when I
Right.
got signed. But
Right.
you know, it wasn't something that I was hiding. That's the point I'm making.
Right.
And my point was, if Big would have said, "Don't do it," if Big, because we know Big wasn't on the guard, and he probably was a little confused. Like, I don't think that's true because there's no way he could think that.
But you understood how he tried to use you as a casualty of the war.
Absolutely, and
Definitely.
not only him, but the thing is, at that time, I didn't even know the bigger situation. When I went to the studio with Pop, I didn't know he was signed to Death Row. I was on stage with Puff at that Source Awards when Suge said that.
Wow.
I was there on stage, but I didn't know
that's
what
right.
that.
She was
I was on stage. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
You had on black.
I had on like a champagne colored silk suit, Chris Webber, me and Puff.
Yeah.
I was clapping. I didn't know what like, I was confused and clapping at like, I didn't know what was going on. And even when I went in the studio, until I walked in the studio, I didn't know Pop was signed to Death Row.
Right.
Like, I immediately was like, oh shit. Like, I knew all the people from just whatever I seen in the media. I saw probably, I don't remember, maybe a Danny Boy. Corrupt was there. You know what I mean? But I just started being the cool person I am, smoking with everybody, you know.
Yep.
I'm gonna get this hook done, but I felt a little weird because I just didn't know he was on Death Row.
Right.
And I knew that this guy who runs this label had just said some shit about the person that runs my label,
Right.
even though I didn't know where it was coming from. And I didn't know where it was coming from for even years after that, even for a few years after that, you know?
Wow.
Like, there's a whole backstory to all that has nothing to do with Big
Right.
or Tupac.
Other
You know what I'm
shit,
saying?
yeah.
So,
Right. Wow. That's
Yeah.
ill. So okay, in the movie again, it says again, I'm just alluding to the movie. This can be false.
Who might be an enabler, like to help him get to her, like an R. Kelly, whoever. And you have their bodyguards or security unit who might allow some things to take place. Might see it and just, hey, we're gonna just allow it because, you know, hey, it's the essence. What, you know, an enabler, or did you allow or see stuff that you're like, man, I ain't gonna jump in that?
Bro,
Go ahead.
criminals do crimes with criminals. I've never been a criminal. You understand what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So now, if you're looking to answer something about Puff, Puff ain't the Puff. Puff had different phases of his life that y'all don't understand. And let's get down to the nitty gritty of it. You understand? First you got Puff Daddy, who had Daddy's house and the parties and things like that. Then you had Puff. You understand? Then you had Diddy. Then you had Brother Love, and then Love. I had Puff around the stage when he was Puff Daddy and Puff and some of Diddy. Not the new Diddy that they gave the Diddler and everything like that. So he ain't the guy, he wasn't the guy that y'all see now back then when he was in Harlem. You understand? He was the guy that our crew chased down the street because he was trying to be a part of it and he ran. You understand? We brought him back, beat the shit out of him, hit him in the head with cake, spoon, with champagne and all the other shit like that. He was wanted to be a part of us. He was the one used to beg, don't go to the party, please, please, I'm on my way, so he could walk in the club with us. You know, you see girls, and you see $100 bills 6 feet high in the whole basement. That's how much money he had. He was the one who started Russell Simmons. They won't tell y'all that story. He was the one who started Russell Simmons and them into the music business because he had a record label first that Russell Simmons used to work for. So now, New York Freddie want to talk to Big Gene. One of his lieutenants back in the day, if you can see his story, his name was Omar. Omar was our OG from 112th Street, 114th Street. They used to come around with us. They used to love the food I used to cook because I'm a hell of a cook. You know what I'm saying?
what happened was that it was like, I don't know what magazine. It may have been Vibe, it may have been Source, one of those, or may have been New York something, Rolling Stone. But there was an article, and this is prior to, this is after me going to the studio with Tupac. But again, there was no...
That record never came out, right?
I don't know. I've heard it before, but I don't know...
Okay.
I don't know whether it was just it's online, but I don't know if it was on the actual Death Row release or something like a...
No, it's probably not.
Well, it was never approved, so I'm
it never got cleared.
I think they put it out with the girl Jewel singing it.
Oh, okay.
But do you want to
Makes
know the
sense.
irony? You know what the song was called, right? Wonder why they call you bitch. Right,
That was
imagine
that
like,
record? So
my
I did,
nigga, yes.
I heard that record before.
Imagine
but
how I
it
feel
wasn't-
going, you know what I'm saying? Like, and this is what I'm thinking right now.
Right.
In the moment of me like, oh, this nigga's on death row. Like, you know what I'm saying?
All right.
Way. You stay. It was made. You were the man of all, period. Imagine, you know, as he went on into his billionaire status, all the things,
I could have just kept my mouth closed.
period.
I didn't have to tell Miss Wallace nothing.
Nothing.
I didn't have to say nothing to nobody. That's what people don't understand. I chose to. You understand? They want to make up the stories they want to make up. And that's what you get this internet. You got a lot of people making up stuff. But then when the stuff come true, they look stupid. They don't say nothing. They quiet as a church mouse. All the things that Jagden said, you understand? And the only thing I disagree with Jag
Was
about
Chris.
this was Chris. That's the only thing I
But
disagree
wait a
with
minute,
it.
can we speak on that right quick?
Because I knew
there.
Lou Tucker. And if you put Lou Tucker and you go in the photos and you put Christopher Williams side by side each other, they
could've
look
been
like
brothers.
they could have been brothers.
They could have been brothers.
I'm not saying Lou Tucker did anything. I'm gonna say that much. But I know Christopher Williams, and I know Christopher Williams is
Something else. But this,
Christopher Williams a gangster.
but this is the thing, though. When that lawyer came to me, and what everybody has been trying to do is get me to give her name.
Right. And I wouldn't worry about it.
And I know why they want me to give her name, because they want to run down on her. And I could even justify it by saying the person who brought her to me that you and I both know. And we'll talk about that on another occasion.
Right.
Because at this point in time, I think I owe you that.
I don't even really.
I know you don't
I
care.
don't care about that, Jack. I want you to sing my song.
My point is this. I believe my witness, and he knows what he knows. But regardless of all of that, there's always spaces in between every story. Now, maybe she saw somebody else that looked like Christopher Williams. I can only tell you what that woman said to me.
And she could think that. She could really think that because they look so much alike. Back then, with the curly hair, light skin, the whole 9 yards, it wouldn't be far-fetched. But
if your ignorant ass call me a crackhead again, I don't give no fuck. I'm just gonna make flyers of all of that shit that you is at the end of the day, regardless of that story, there are other stories about Puff using sexuality to enslave.
And, you know, his feelings about Big, you know?
Right.
They was young. It was a battery in their back. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
If they would have met with each other, that shit would have been
Yeah, I
dead.
think he
That's
definitely
honestly
always was
how I
thinking they
feel.
would one day work it out. You know what I'm saying?
Wasn't there that story that y'all saw each other at a awards show?
At the
or something?
Soul, yeah, we see each
and
other
it
at the
was
Soul
like
Train
peace
Awards.
for that moment?
Nah, I wasn't no peace at all.
Oh,
Shit
I thought that he said
but
something.
that wasn't the Pac we know.
Like
though,
Big
you know
was
what I mean?
looking like he couldn't believe that dude was bugging
They
like
was doing that, but you know, he was with Suge. You know, Suge, like everybody know that Suge was putting the battery in his back, had him, you know, doing that type of shit because he had a personal situation with Puff. You know what I'm saying? And you know, we didn't know about that, or you know, that shit don't come around till you hear rumors about that shit. But it was some personal shit with them.
because the school district, if you came out of high school, you probably had a 6th or 7th grade education.
So let me ask you, for those that, you know, some people know your story and they see you on this couch, so they know what we're about to get into. As a curiosity, for those who don't know, your profession was a bodyguard.
Not at all.
Okay, go ahead, please.
My profession I was professionally a New York State parole officer, where I worked for 27 years. Okay. You understand? My second profession was an investigator for Elite Investigation, where I ran the investigations of housing projects in the city, Lambert Housing, Taino Towers, Eastchester Manor, some of the roughest housing projects in the city in the Bronx.
Like my lawyer, I
Thank God
called
there's
my
no
lawyer
social
like,
media.
can I sue them for saying this? Once I started hearing they saying this, and he was like, I mean, come on, like, you know, like, you gonna sue somebody for saying something about it, you know, that. And I was just like thinking of Big, like, yo, this could get really ugly. Like, I ain't about to, you know, not even knowing that the shit is way bigger than somebody saying something about you. You know what I mean? I didn't know the whole full story, but I knew that shit was wrong.
Right.
But you know, then after a while, I was like, excuse me, you know what? I know what it is. God knows what it is. And the only person I was concerned about initially was really Big and talking to Big, you know, which I never really got to do. Because back to that scene, when you say he came and he heard about it, that was really what you started talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
That happened, you know.
Right.
He was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, you're bugging. But I think it was more so him hearing about the bigger situation.
And this is the picture, or this is after Hit 'Em Up came out?
No, this before Hit 'Em Up, ain't
Yeah, I think
this
that's
before Hit 'Em Up.
It's the picture then. It gotta be the picture.
Article. It was an article saying that
No,
I
because the
traded
picture
in my
came out
wedding ring.
prior. I think the picture
Yeah,
came
the
out.
picture was one thing, but there was an article which Suge and Tupac, and Suge was like, I traded him in my wedding ring and took him shopping, bought him I bought him the outfit he had on in the magazine.
It's MTV. That was MTV.
Oh, I don't know what it was, but there was also an
California?
article that
Okay, I'm listening.
they were talking about the same stuff. So you're right, it might have
Right.
been a video somewhere too.
Right.
But, you know, it was like, it was just when I heard about it, and then Big it was right after me coming back from LA, experiencing that session with him, and like him kind of breaking on me, saying I gotta